authorized by Utah Code 52-4, this meeting is being held electronically without an anchor location to reduce the risk to health and safety from COVID-19 by limiting the frequency of in-person meetings. I'm going to do a roll call just to see who's here with us. Board Member Booth? Board Member Cannon? Board Member Klein? Vice Chair Davis?
Here. First one.
Ahoo. Board Member Earl? Board Member Hanson?
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Hart?
Here.
Thank you. Board Member Hutchings?
I'm here.
Thank you. Board Chair Huntsman?
Here, and it looks like all the H's are here today.
All the H's and Board Member Hymas.
Here.
And Board Member Klein is here.
Here.
Thank you. Board Member Moss. Board Member Norton.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Board Member Straight.
I'm here.
Thank you. I see Board Member Klein has joined us. Board Member Cannon, Board Member Booth, or Board Member Earl, or Board Member Moss. Okay, we do have a quorum, so we are going to go ahead and go on. Welcome to our USDB group. We're happy to have you here with us today. We're going to go ahead and go to 5.2. I believe Superintendent Coleman, you're going to present this.
Yes, thank you. This is the just an approval of the special education manual with the updates that we had on the agenda last month, but it was listed as a discussion item instead of an approval item. It's been reviewed by the special ed department, and they have threatened to hold us in non-compliance if we don't get it approved by the board. So,
Well, as they should. No, I appreciate that because last time it was on the agenda and we've had quite a discussion on it. Chair Huntsman.
If you're ready for a motion, I'll put a motion on the floor.
I am Chair.
Okay, and the motion, and that is that the board approve the USDB Special Education Policy and Procedure Manual.
Seeking a second.
Second, Hymas.
Second, Board Member Hymas. Chair Huntsman, do you want to speak to your motion?
I think we spoke to it plenty in our last meeting.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands. So the motion is that the board approves the USDB Special Education Policy and Procedure Manual. Please vote. Thank you. And I see that Board Member Earl and Cannon have joined us. So that's all of them except Board Member Moss. Sybil. Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Well, that was good. Let's go on to 5.3. Finance Director Empey.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. It's a pleasure to be here. The financial reports for the first 6 months that ended December 31st. We are financially solvent and off to a good start for the year. Our inflows of revenues from the state and the State Office of Education totaled $21.6 million. Our expenditures for the 6 months were $17.4 million, giving us more inflows than we did expenses of approximately $4.2 million. So things are looking good financially for us. The number of students that we served were 2,376. The balance in our land grant enrichment fund is $1,308,640. Our donated fund account totaled $270,718, and our education foundation is at $1,284,034. Those are the numbers on your first report, the financial report. The report that follows is the budget status report that gives all the supporting detail of the numbers that I just reviewed. If there's any questions on the financial report or the budget status report, I'd be happy to answer them before I get into the report on our enrichment fund projects.
I don't see any, Director MP, but I do have one question, please.
Okay.
What is the difference, not the numbers, but what's the difference between the foundation and donated money? In most districts, they kind of run together.
Yeah, the donated money has come in specifically for one of our donated fund accounts to be used by the directors and the superintendent. The foundation is donations that have been received directly and donated to the foundation independent of USDB. So the Education Foundation is the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind Education Foundation. So we've been recipients of a lot of generous donations over the years. And so those are to be used for, we're buying them for high-tech devices, for hearing aids, cochlear implant parts, special eye-tech vision goggles for our visually impaired and blind students. And then we're hoping to fund the Outdoor Learning Center if we can find a generous donor for that amount.
Thank you, Director MP.
You're
Board
welcome.
Member Cannon.
Yes, I just had a question as I was looking at your budget detail. It talked about ARP ESSER, and I wonder if you could comment on what kind of monies USDB has received for COVID and what kind of uses you're putting that money towards.
Yeah, good question, Board Member Cannon. We've received haven't received any of it yet, but we've planned and have used historically to buy PPE equipment, janitorial supplies for cleaning supplies to keep the buildings clean and sterile and germ-free, and also other just traditional PPP projects.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Carl. Go ahead.
Okay, and if there's not any other questions, our enrichment fund projects.
Hey, Carl,
Yes,
I think Superintendent Tanner had a comment.
okay.
About one more thing on the ESSER funds.
Yeah, the other thing we proposed the use for is for a school counselor. We have some needs that when they came back from COVID, that the students had having some significant mental health issues. And so we needed some assistance with the school counselor. So these ESSER funds will also assist with that.
So I have a question on that. Using one-time funds for a salaried person. I have some concerns with that.
Yeah, when we do our budgeting, so if we find if that is a short-term thing and we find that that's all that's needed, then we readjust. But we do a zero-based budgeting. So every year we're about to start the exercise again. We have to prove the need for every position. So if we had to prove that need and that needed to be, we might be shuffling other positions to make sure that continued. So we come back to the drawing board and say, we're at zero. Tell us what you need. And we have to argue and articulate to Superintendent Coleman why each position is justified and needed. And so if we did that and we felt that position was needed ongoing, we would do those and make those adjustments.
Thank you. I want to be there when you're arguing with Superintendent Coleman. Just kidding. Go ahead, Carl.
It ain't
Yeah,
pretty.
and just to follow up with Associate Tanner's comments, we anticipate that's going to be a 2-year funding for that emotional and mental health counselor. Okay, on the enrichment fund projects, of the $1,526,000 that have been approved by you as the board and recommended by our advisory council, we have spent $510,556, giving us a balance of about $1,015,000 left to be spent before the end of the fiscal year. So that is my financial report, Madam Chair, unless there's any other questions.
I don't see any, Director MP. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Okay, we are on to 5.4. It's an informational item on the 2021 holiday project summary. Superintendent Coleman.
Thank you. Excuse me. Board members, you actually created the segue to this. I would like to introduce you to Amy Zaharis, who is the director of the USDB Foundation. She was interviewed and hired by the board of the foundation. As you know, we created the foundation a couple of years ago for the types of things we've been discussing. Most of our donated funds were transferred from USDB to the foundation to seed fund it. And we have a few little ones that trickle in here and there for incidental things, but most of the donated funds are handled all through the foundation now, independently, and it's awesome. So Amy is here to talk to you about the most recent activities that they've been doing during the holidays. And so I will just let her take it from there and let you get to know her a little bit, and then she can answer any additional questions you might have about the foundation also.
Thank you, Superintendent. Welcome, Amy. Go ahead.
Hi. Well, first, I just would like to introduce myself. This is the first time I've presented here in your meeting. I'm Amy Zaharis, Director of the Education Foundation, and I started with them 2 years ago. I just wanted to, Joel wanted me to report to you about this project that we have. We call it our holiday project, and we've done this now 3 years in a row. We are very grateful to have generous donors, and one specific donor that has contributed to this every year. And what we do is we send out an email to all of the directors of every department, and they are able to identify some students and families in their departments that have great need over the holidays. And we have donors, and then these directors go out and determine what the needs are. This year for our holiday project, we provided for 50 families of students. And there is a spreadsheet. I don't know if it's able to be uploaded so that you guys can view it or not, but if you can go through the list, there are families that are in domestic violence shelter. There are families that are homeless. There are families that are in temporary housing. There are refugee families. And this is all families with great need. And the feedback that I've gotten from some of the directors is they just love to be able to identify these students and their families, and then go and give what is needed. And some of the things that were given are assistive devices, holiday gifts, winter clothing, food, toys. Really, there's a variety of need. But like I said, this year we provided for 50 families with these donated funds. One specific story that has stood out to me from last year was we had a director who was going to a home to deliver some holiday items. And when they got there, they realized that their student, and it was a blind boy in elementary school, was sleeping on the floor at his home. And they realized this when they got there with different needs. So he contacted me and said, do we have any other funds that we could provide a bed to this student? And thankfully, due to, again, donors that we're very grateful for, there were extra funds. And so this director got a bed and a mattress and took to the family, in addition to the other things that we were giving, but they took a bed and a mattress to this student. And then his family personally provided bedding and a really awesome Spider-Man bedspread, and went and delivered that to this student. And so I just think the directors really enjoy it because they are connecting with their students on a personal level and their families, and that we have the ability to help and give them at times of need, and give them some items that they need. So does anybody have any questions at all about that?
Thank you, Amy, for your presentation. Yes, we do. Board Member Earl. You're on mute.
Sorry, that must mean I was unmuted for all that other time. Sorry.
No, you weren't actually.
No, it just didn't come undone. Oh, okay. Just must not clicked it. So I just looking over the needs here, I just think that's what an incredible blessing for teachers just to be aware of these specific needs of these families. So anyways, just thank you for your service that you render, and for the help of these children and the needs that they have with their families. So
thank you, Board Member Earl. Vice Chair Davis.
I just want to echo Board Member Earl's thanks. I've been in a situation where I've been a principal and gone to IEPs in homes where there were no cars available and found kids sleeping on floors with one blanket, I know how that is, and it happens a lot more often than anyone wants to believe. And so thanks for meeting needs.
Thank you, Amy.
Well, and one thing I would just like to say is it really speaks to the directors of our departments, that they know their students, they know them personally, and they are in tune to the needs of these families, because they're the ones really that identify the needs and then reach out to the families. And so I just think it's a really great nod to them that they know these families personally and care about them and want to help them.
And thank you for running this foundation. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll go to Superintendent Coleman for the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. My report today is not very long, but the first thing I'd like to do, let's see, I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see my desktop. Share, and I'll expand this. So hopefully you can see that document that I just put up. I wanted to just let you know can you see that okay?
Sorry, make it a little bigger.
Yeah, push your Control F. Or
There it
plus.
is.
Control plus. You're not trying to find anything.
Is that better?
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
but now we can't see the whole document, so you'll have to scroll a little. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, that's fine. This is just an internal document, but I wanted to share it with the board so you could get a feel for what we do with our process. Carl Empey has prepared this as he does every year, so that starting now, we've already started this, and going through April 25th, this is the process we go through internally. We report to the legislature each year that we go through a process where we pull the whole place apart and put it back together with our best anticipation of what we'll need the following year for our budget. And this is how it works. And just so you could kind of see that, we go through each of our units, starting at the bottom up, and Michelle Tanner indicated that they have to defend their proposals, so to speak. So I come in close to the end here and grill them pretty hard after they already do their due diligence with their directors and anticipating the needs of each child that we will have to serve next year. So you can kind of see how that rolls out. We complete the comprehensive unit budget spreadsheet by March 11th, which is about the time that the legislative session ends. And then we can adjust depending on what is actually appropriated. And then we calculate our educator salaries and projected FTEs after that. And starting the beginning of April, they meet with me with all of that work that they've done behind the scenes. And we look at our carry forward, we review the whole budget, our enrichment funds, and then we complete that in time to present it to you in your May 6th board meeting. And so just wanted you to know that that was starting here soon, that process. Let's see now, I need to unshare. You are screen sharing, stop share. There we go. That's better. The next item on my superintendent report is, let's see, it's hard juggling all these windows. I just wanted to make you aware on February 22nd, there will be a Nasby webinar. And that was, I think, an outgrowth. It was an invitation that came to me because of the article that was done in the Education Standard at Superintendent or at Board Member Cannon's suggestion. And so they've asked me to participate with two others. I don't think they're superintendents, but two other people involved in education, different education fields. And we'll be talking about different philosophies of education, innovations, how to meet the needs of students in our ever-changing world, and so forth. And so I think that'll be kind of fun. Wanted to let you know about that. You should all get an invitation since you're all members of NASB by virtue being on the state board. Next item I wanted to report back to you since our last meeting about our COVID protocols. In the week after we met, we did have to just close one classroom. It was a preschool classroom in St. George, and it was because we had a teacher and 4 of her 8 students who were sick for a few days. So it wasn't an entire program. It was one classroom, and they were back up and running by Thursday of that week. And we did that in consultation with the state board leadership, like we were instructed to. And then there was one other classroom last week up in Ogden, another preschool classroom where we had a similar circumstance. So other than that, we've been able to stay open, and we're hoping that holds steady. So that's just a report back after our last item of business in our last board meeting. That's really all I have of an update right now, except that we're just paying attention to the legislature, and we presented last Tuesday to them our annual report. We had a lot of very good questions from the legislators on the Public Ed Appropriations Subcommittee. The way they asked questions were very thoughtful, good questions, but the way they asked them, I had a real sense that they're very supportive, but they expect us to be accountable, which is a very good combination, I think. And so I think Superintendent Tanner has one additional thing to report on, and that will probably be the end of our superintendent report unless you have questions afterwards. So Superintendent Tanner.
Thank you, Superintendent. Go ahead, Assistant Superintendent Tanner.
Hi, I'm just going to give you an update of the upcoming events so that you're aware. Our students are going to Washington, D.C. We have a group of students going to Washington, D.C. studying about the political process and everything that goes down there. That's happening this month. Next month in March, we are hosting a very large event. It's that we're getting some famous actors that are even coming in to present and provide a workshop training to our students. That's a theater group. We're going to learn about how to present theater with deaf children, and it's an up and coming, I should say, it's been going along for a long time. It's now the regular folk that's beginning to understand that deaf people can act really well. And so you've seen them in Marvel movies coming up now, and it's kind of taken off. So our students are a part of that. We've got some people from movies that are going to be presenting to them. We're pretty excited about that. That's going to be hosted on campus. And then in April, we have 2 events. We have our trip to Germany that we're working on. So we'll have a group of students that will go to Germany. All of this is from our Enrichment Funds, by the way. And finally, we are hosting what's called the CEASD conference. That's for all the superintendents of the deaf across the entire country who hasn't met since COVID. And we are the hosts. So they're coming in April. It's kind of a big event, big deal event. It's going to be hosted downtown at the Marriott. And that should be fun, exciting, and a lot of work. So we'll send you invites so you can be aware of that if there's some pieces that may be irrelevant to you that you may be interested in. And I think that's all I had for me. I don't know if Susan had anything, but that's my report.
Sure. I'll just give you a really brief update as far as what's happening with the blind school the next few months. We currently are in the midst of planning short-term programs and doing our short-term programs. We do those once a month over a Friday and Saturday, where kids statewide come to a location and we provide expanded core curriculum skills teaching for those 2 days. One thing I wanted to mention as far as the enrichment funds were concerned that we're working on at the School for the Blind doing some surveying of the districts and TVIs and also parents to see how they're feeling about our enrichment fund use, because it's for all of the kids. And, we've got some great feedback, but I also want to make sure that we're getting as much feedback as we possibly can. And so with those enrichment funds, we're also doing the 70-48, which we have all of our kids ready to go for that one. And I am so happy to say we have 4 girls and 4 boys going this year, which we only had 1 girl last year. So we're so excited that we have an even number of boys and girls going. We've also got our study abroad trip ready to go. We're going in May and we're going to London. The kids really worked hard on their applications. They had to do a video, they had to do an essay, they had to have 3 letters of recommendation. We had to see transcripts. They really worked hard. And then I actually was involved with an interview just Monday night with their parents and the students. And they're amazing kids. It just was so fun to have just that personal connection with them, just to talk to them about the reasons why they want to go to London. One of the students said, and his mom and dad were right there. And he said, some of my friends think because I'm blind, I'm going to live with my parents my whole life. And he says, I'm not. And his parents said, well, he's been very clear on that. So he thinks if he can study abroad, if he can go and navigate through the airport and he's good. He can move out next year for college. Anyway, so that's just kind of an idea of these kids and how fun it is. So that's happening in May. So anyway, just want to give you a brief update as far as what we're doing with the enrichment funds and our activities for the future.
Thank you to both of you, deputy superintendents. Or assistant superintendents. I think you're called assistant superintendents. Sorry about that. I do have one comment. Would it be possible to get a calendar sent to us of these dates and locations so that we could have them sooner than later to get them on a calendar for us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Happy to do it.
I think that would be helpful. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Superintendent Coleman, are you complete now?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you very much.
All right, then I will consider this meeting of the USDB adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.